Guys, this is an epic start to something magnificent. So we're recording this, obviously put out on the YouTube and through various social media. Let's introduce ourselves. I'm Nicholas Guillermo, founder of Activism Truth and RIPAC. 2 works in production, but a grand vision that I can't wait to share with you. And go ahead.
Sure. I'm Ernest, the founder and CEO of Follow My Vote.
And I'm Nathan Hourt. I'm a blockchain architect.
Awesome. Yeah, so go ahead.
Soon to be co-founder of Follow My Vote.
Awesome. Good work. Yeah. I'm so excited with what you guys are doing because when I'm reading through your website, you're talking about something that is so of the times. We have the technology to make sure 100% transparent voting is available to us. And the government's not investing any effort in this. It just goes to show how inept and how little they care when the technology's out. And they're supposed to be experts, right? But it takes some entrepreneurs, it takes some independent tech analysts who really care about this country to do this. And so it's such a pleasure to know you guys and know that somebody is out there who cares enough, that has the skills to make this happen, and that you're actually doing it. So thank you so much for your project.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one thing to point out a problem. It's another thing to have a solution for it. And so, we're pretty excited about the solution that we're working on and think it could really change the world.
It will. It's not that it could, it will. And let me tell you, just one little missing piece of the puzzle that I've analyzed, and I know, okay, we have access to model legislation right now from a little group, probably never heard of, called Lowercase, out of New York. And they are pushing a ballot initiative through what's the means of a charter amendment. And a charter amendment is like a weaker form of ballot initiative. A charter amendment allows citizens to collect signatures for legislation that they want to put on the ballot, and it goes before their representatives. And for the city of New York, the city council. And then they have a time limit where they have to act on it. They have to vote for it. They have to vote against it. The thing is, it's about empowering the people. If the politicians vote for it, then it passes, right? But if they don't vote for it, then the people have another chance to get more signatures. They have to get a whole bunch more in a short amount of time. But when they get those signatures, then it's like a ballot initiative. It gets on the ballot, people can vote on it, and it becomes law. It supersedes even their mayor. This is available in cities all across the country. So on a citywide level, it's possible. On a statewide level, a ballot initiative is possible in 24 states that will now enable the legal right for people to use your technology. And they have drafted the model legislation. And in states where they don't have ballot initiatives, okay, these citywide charter amendments could be used to create binding agreements between the different charter amendment cities to the point where they have a binding agreement that fulfills the whole state, and all of a sudden they say, okay, well, our state will have ballot initiative rights. Legislation to do that would have to be made. No one's written that yet. It's one of the projects RIPAC plans to take on when we, are launching and doing our crowdfunding and projects. But you see, your legislation is so crucial. When your technology is out, we use that legislation for Lowercase is created, and we model it for different cities and states across the country. I'll be happy to file that in Arizona, and as a super PAC, file that in every other state, just to get the word out there and begin getting momentum that this is an effort that will not stop until we succeed. And then it'll just be a matter of the effective signature gathering process and internetworking of people through social media that will allow for the people to get a critical mass equivalent to the amount of signatures needed and put it on the ballot. And it can be done so fast because the Activism Truth goal is exposing this information, and RIPAC as well. And RIPAC seeks to get a critical mass equivalent to the amount of signers for every jurisdiction. That way we get to a point. We want any initiative, referendum, recall. We want a better candidate on the ballot, or we need to file a citizen grand jury because the judicial system is corrupted. We'll have the people. We can put that on the ballot and let us vote. and just, really take back our nation the way it was designed. We can start using it, first and foremost, in my opinion, to, hey, oh, that's my son coming in the door. How you doing, Mookie? Okay. We can use it to start limiting corrupt factors in government. So instead of necessarily trying to create a bunch of whole new laws, which is important, we're going to be doing that too, we will seek to, stop bad practices. And we've collected like over 40 pieces of model legislation, and one of them is what lowercase d did. And the distinction with lowercase d, just so you know, is that they created legislation that it's basically calling on the city to invest in creating the technology you're making. Okay? It's calling on that and asking the city to invest in that so people can have transparent voting and they can vote online or from their phones, right? And they can vote for a ballot initiative, a referendum recall, all these different ballot access rights, or, candidates directly, and that it would be enacted. I think there's specifically about initiatives, if I understand correctly, but they put a lot of time into it. They got a team together, so we have model legislation to do what you guys want to do. It's not enough to just come out with the technology and ask the politicians, please, will you let us make this legal to be the useful way to, allow for voting. The power structure is totally challenged at that point, and they don't want law to go forward that will enable voters to vote from their phone because it will empower too many voters. It will empower the disenfranchised left, and it will empower, obviously people on the right too that aren't voting because we have the lowest voter turnout ever, and that will make voting turnout significant. We have a grand plan for that blockchain and digital currency stuff to link in with a program for open source digital currency that's, in my opinion, would be backed by gold and silver at the end, because that way people could get that money back that they've invested in, use it in other currencies, and it will have intrinsic value instead of just being bits and bytes on the web that can't be turned back. If you got to pay a power bill under our current legal system, you got to pay taxes under the current system the way it is. We need to have it transferred back. But I see it as a segue to something much greater. I shed light on with Adam the other day. We can get into, but this video isn't just all about the project I'm working on. I want to hear from you and engage you guys in some dialogue. Where do you see this going once you have your model legislation ready?
Well, we're working on, first and foremost, we're working on a specific solution right now for the BitShares blockchain. That's going to enable that community to vote on things. They have the BitShares platform really is a blockchain that is going to be capable of developers are going to be capable of integrating with the blockchain and building all sorts of apps and various features for this system. And one of the things that we've committed to doing, is building a stake-weighted voting system for them. And that will be our first official project, where we have, a paying client. A lot of that really is going to start to lay the foundation for, one person, one vote voting. A lot of that code will allow us to introduce a legitimate voting system, a transparent voting system, one that has end-to-end verifiability.
Yeah.
At which point we can demonstrate that. It's all about demonstrating really a proof of concept and saying, hey, look what we built, look what this could do. At which point we see, there being a push, almost a grassroots kind of movement, and a demand by the people. I said a demand from the people, really to our government, to use this type of solution, to move to this type of solution with respect to voting systems that are in place today. We really want to improve the integrity standards of the voting systems that are in place today, and ensure that voting can once and for all be provably honest, and so we can have fair, honest elections. If I mean that is, I think, something that could be revolutionary in and of itself.
Yeah. You know? See, when a ballot initiative goes forward and people against us, whoever they may be, politicians and bureaucrats or whatever, when they start, because there's going to be opposition, they'll probably spend a plethora of dollars and propaganda they'll be pushing out to say that this is a horrible idea, you know. But when the arguments really get in those ballot guides and people get to read the pros and cons, but they get to see, you know, the version from the proponents, which could be you guys or, you know, RIPAC, whoever wants to take it on. RIPAC will do it. You know, the thing is, it's going to be so obvious that people are going to want this. And I think it will be record turnout at the polls, and it will be such a huge victory. It's got, I mean, I would ambitiously, I think 80 to 20, 80 in favor. It could be less, could be more, but I see it as passing, and it's inevitable because there's too much evidence. Like you on your site, you have the link to Fox News, you know, the hacking the voting machines. They can do it remotely. This stuff is probably going on right now if they've already do it. Of course it's going on. I wouldn't doubt that that's why we have most of the candidates that we do. You know, they're rigging the votes.
You never really know, and it's definitely possible. And so we just want to rule out that from being a possibility. Yeah. You know, that's the step one in making sure that our government becomes truly representative of the people. If we can ensure that the people that are being elected truly got, you know, enough votes to earn their spot in office.
Absolutely.
You know, that's step one. And I think if we can introduce a voting system that is provably honest and allows elections to be conducted in a fair and honest way, and we can bring it, this solution can also be an online, enable online voting from your smartphone. I think you're right. I do think that voter turnout will dramatically increase, and if we can get the people to engage, you know, and at least vote in elections, and, you know, actually be able to reassure them that their vote does count. You know, I think that you're going to see a lot more people voting and a lot more people engaged. And, you know, over time, there may be a really a call for much more of a direct democracy here in the United States, as opposed to a representative democracy that we have today.
Well, I totally agree. And I have decided that using the word direct democracy in certain circles is great, but the thing is, in the history of ballot initiatives, which is a direct democracy process, a good majority, I'm pretty sure it's a majority of them have been a lot of conservative issues. If it's not a majority, there's a significant amount that have been for conservative issues. In fact, the right use it. Unfortunately, corporations use it for their own agendas. Lawyers use it for their own agendas. You know, sometimes guys and altruistic concepts, but really just to create more lawsuits so lawyers can get paid in many cases. There's evidence for that. But, you know, this is really going to open the doors for people to begin taking back their government the way it was intended by our founders. And what I feel would be representative democracy form of government, it would just be so much more authentic than the current system today. I mean, there's plenty of quotes, and I can't wait to do some more writing and blogging about this that will be published on the site when it's ready for launch. But there's quotes from founding fathers about, you know, how when this system fails, we need to make it more representative somehow. We need to make it work. Even abolish it has been suggested, but I don't think that's going to be the case, you know, maybe not until the far future when people realize that representatives aren't even necessary at all, when this technology and a few other groups' technology come forward. You know, this is why it's so exciting, because there's other groups working on some missing pieces of the puzzles, including RIPAC. So I'm going to open up this image here from my desktop, and I'm going to show you the mind map that I created, and go kind of step by step how this is can come together. And there's going to be more. I didn't even mention the Native Americans here. We had to talk about that the other day. Just to highlight the idea of the Native Americans and where they come in, is that Native Americans have sovereign land. And when we help natives participate in this process, and we can bring them up and we can bring prosperity to their lands, when people voluntarily want to help the natives will voluntarily help the people, and they will allow people to create free market societies using blockchain, what do you call it? Nathan, what's that crypto stuff called? Blockchain, elliptical...
elliptic curve cryptography.
Yeah. When we start using that for alternative currencies, when we start using that for ballot initiatives and propositions for that matter, I mean, Native Americans will use it, and we have a big plan in Arizona to use it to save the Oak Flat and the rest of the reservoirs across the nation with a Water Protection Act. They'll invite people in these massive cities that are like 100% ecologically sustainable, in my view, that are different than the current model of city design today. Ones that are sustainable, where there's true free markets and ecological sustainability. I mean, it will be like a spiritual purpose. People will move out of their cities by the hordes to move on native land, where they're accepting people to come in and bring prosperity to their land, because they've been one of the most oppressed minorities in this nation, aside from Asians and of course Africans.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for Nathan, but that's really the kind of stuff that I'm most interested in.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about this mind map. Will kind of explain the solution. So let me break this down piece by piece. All right, Activism Truth here is in blue, and the reason why is because Activism Truth serves as a portal for people to learn about issues going on all over the world, solutions involving direct democracy processes, or what I'm calling now more so consensus-based representation. I know it's lengthier, but see, the logic is that too many conservatives today, if they hear the word democracy, they're totally turned off. Yet, a lot of conservative ideologies, a lot of conservative views, such as a shift away from Keynesian economics, are 100% valid and fact-based, that when people take all the facts into account, they see, wow, this method actually works for prosperity a lot better than this Keynesian economics, which is very subjective to, subjected to, inflation or deflation or stagflation, other issues that can just, starve people to death. There's a lot of issues with Keynesian economics, but Activism Truth, seeks to be this portal, and also like a nonprofit, be an educational portal using software that can be developed by you guys. And here we have Follow My Vote at the bottom right next to us. See that? And then just above you guys is Democracy OS and Place a Vote. And both these groups are working on a similar software, and they're both to be open source. So my job now is really to help link them together as well, to work as one cohesive unit, because we have guys in LA with a team in the UK. We have Democracy OS with people in Argentina, and they're working on open source voting software that will enable people to discuss issues and create consensus on issues as well. And Place a Vote has a big concept, from what I understand.
Okay.
It's very new. So the idea is like this. So we have several ideas. One of them is you take legislation, Democracy OS as well, and you translate it into normal English for people, line by line. And then each line, this is my vision, and my goal is to get them to adopt this as well. Each line can be debated, and dialogue can form on each line. And like an accordion widget in a website, people can open up and see how debates have occurred and how they branch off in like a chain. The idea is that you have an argument here at the top. Let's see, can you see me? Well, I want to. All right, well, you have an argument on a line of text, and then people say, well, I'm for it, I'm against it, I have an alternative idea. Or, wait a second, that line needs to be totally rephrased, which correlates with the alternative idea. And then from there, you have all the lines opposing those linked off of it like an accordion. So people click on it, it opens up a window, and they see someone else's argument against or for, and it will be highlighted with a light, like green for affirmative, yes for negative, or red for negative, like I disagree. Yellow for new idea, and gray for like, I don't like that, but here's an alternative. And then all those links can be followed. So someone could click on a green link, somewhere on the website design, they can see all the links for, or they can click on a red and see all the links against, and then they kind of battle each other, because here we are having dialogue. Well, what's going to happen is moderators and other individuals come in, they seek to present facts to support their issue, which is really the only type of debates that need to happen in these systems, like a quorum, like a real sophisticated methodological quorum where facts have to be presented to even participate, because it's not going to be like a Facebook feed trolls. Okay? And yeah, and so they present the facts, somewhere along the line when you filter through the conflicts of interest, or when you look at a bigger picture beyond just what one scientist said or one authority on this issue said, when you look at the big picture, somewhere along the line on most issues, you're going to have a winning side to an argument, and they're going to get all the green lights. The red lights, against, we'll have a method, or like oppose, like I have someone says I have an opposing fact that disproves this, there'll be red lights. And when you look at the top issue, it will say either, 54 green wins, 22 red losses. Maybe there's still some conflicts. Eventually, as people begin to get deeper and deeper into the issue, it will be like 100% consensus on issues. Not every issue is going to work like that, especially on ones that deal with ethics or philosophy, in my opinion. I think those are going to be the toughest to crack. But when it comes to laws, when it comes to what's going to make our nation better, you're going to find alignment between the progressives and the libertarian-minded people and conservatives and liberals. They're going to have common agreements. Like, one big one most people agree with is we shouldn't allow for NSA spying to creep into all of our emails unnecessarily and have this huge bloated database that's running the state of Utah dry of water. Yeah. So just so they can cool down the database of everyone's private personal emails, so they can have some AI computer or whatever filter through it to try to then take someone to jail over something, Yeah. It's too much. It's a waste. And I think that's something that they're really focused on, especially since it doesn't work. Like ISIS. Getting into whole other political issues, but anyways, Let me get back to the main point. Let's go back to this mind map. Place a vote, Democracy OS, and you guys, in my opinion, need to work in tandem with sharing some of your, what you're working on right now, having these discussions like a roundtable, because you guys can help each other. What if Democracy OS has already developed a huge chunk of the blockchain that you guys are trying to work on now? And so vice versa. What about Place a Vote? Instead of us all doing it kind of individually, because at the end of the day, Democracy OS and Place a Vote want to do the same thing you guys are for transparent voting. Mm-hmm. If you guys work together, instead of this taking, I don't know, I know you want to release, this winter, but what if it takes longer? Or what if we could make it a lot sooner? Okay? Yeah. I would love to see that happen. So that was part of my agenda for this talk today. I want to put you guys in touch with these guys, and you can go to their websites and contact them too. But here we have RIPAC up here at the top. RIPAC is designed to be the first citizens-run, cooperatively run ballot proposition super PAC. So we will file ballot propositions for the people, okay, based on the consensus created from these softwares for what my buddy Oren and I, who are big thinkers on this concept, we call it a quorum e-democracy, okay? And he's a libertarian. He seeks to bring libertarians in this fold of deliberative dialogue to come to agreement on issues. And so Oren's a great guy. And we have this plan. Once this QED is set up, quorum e-democracy, what have you, from the work with you guys and these other groups, issues will be discussed, consensus will be built, and then RIPAC will take those issues to the ballot initiative box. But the point is that, I have the skills, I have the knowledge to share that with people what can make this mainstream, to get people involved mainstream, and not necessarily for paid drives, although I see that as being, unfortunately, an essential part of this in the beginning. But again, once we reach a critical mass, it won't be necessary anymore. That industry will be over because people just start putting our own issues on the ballot. Okay? Yeah, making it real. Yeah, but it requires the technology you guys are building, It requires that. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So you're like step A, step Z. I'm trying to fill in the gaps. Now we have ballot access news and Ballotpedia and Recall the Rogues, which might be a part of RIPAC in the end, but they might be autonomous. And we might actually have new subgroups under RIPAC, because Recall the Rogues focuses on just recall issues and expounding on, what the recall issue is about. RIPAC is going to get in deeper and say, okay, we need to recall this person, this person, this person, and actually file the initiatives. They're more of like an organization for information, as is Ballotpedia. And Ballot Access News, run by Richard Winger, who I got a chance to meet in person. I was petitioning out in San Francisco. He lives there. He's been following ballot initiatives for decades now, puts out a newsletter. Everything and anything that's happening in that field in the USA, he's writing blogs about it. And so, he's going to be creating a lot of the content that we then rewrite and create videos for on RIPAC. He's an awesome investigative journalist. And I was working on a petition to stop the cops from double-dipping their pensions in San Francisco. We ran into each other at the San Francisco City Library downtown.
Oh, really?
We have... so just in general, these three chunks, Ballot Access News, Ballotpedia, Recall the Rogues, that's the content creators for information RIPAC will feed to all the followers that will then use the Place a Vote, Democracy OS, Follow My Vote software. Might end up being one organization or not, I don't know, in the end. Which will feed into Activism Truth, which is like a global awareness project to share all this information with other nations. And there's nations all over the globe. And I realize I can build on this right now because there's another group that follows Ballot Access News all around the world. Because there's, I think, over 50 countries that have some form of referenda or even strong ballot initiative rights, like Switzerland, for example. Costa Rica as well. So there's a lot of potential with Activism Truth reaching out and bringing other countries into the fold to do the same thing we're going to do in the USA. Representative party is what I call the basic direct democracy party. And the guys with Place a Vote call theirs the Place a Vote party, if you will. I have some other allies I haven't out on here. Smaller groups started by the guy in Pennsylvania. There's a guy in Utah who created direct democracy parties. And the idea is to have a candidate who uses software like what you guys are creating to just vote on that. That's it. Not even approaching with their own ideology. To swear an oath to the people, to have a binding contract, okay, that they will vote on behalf of the people using these softwares. But that's why the software needs to be really sophisticated. It can't just be, do you vote yes, do you vote no, do you have another argument? It needs to be so detailed in the methodology myself and Oren have been creating with blockchain-style following of arguments where the facts aggregate to the top to show the final piece of legislation that was created by the people. Okay? It eliminates special interest. Actual legislation created by people. Place a Vote had this awesome idea that we hadn't even considered where you can allocate your vote to someone else, where you can follow them, but they can delegate on your behalf. So someone who's an expert in a field can vote on issues that you say that they can have allowances for, and you'll follow it. And I think it's okay. I can't see room for flaws in that, but I think it's in general a good idea because not everyone wants to follow every single issue and vote on it within those kind of quorums. But, these kind of quorums, they're going to be an evolving process as well. Once we create Model 1.0, what Oren and I have envisioned, there'll be a 2.0, there'll be 3.0, because people will participate in it and they'll see room for improvement, and that's where people like you, Nathan, will come in handy because we're going to need top developers and programmers to really put this stuff together. And Nathan, I want to hear you speak once I go through the rest of these. I'm going to try to keep it brief. But I'd like to hear what your challenges are and possibilities where you see this going, when crowdfunding comes in to pay you to do your job and with other allies that you have are as talented as you are. I think Luke, with Place a Vote, might be at your level because he's also a grad in this kind of field and working on blockchain stuff. The representative party, same thing as direct democracy party. I just chose the word representative because I think it's more to articulate the ideas of what it's about and not to throw off the conservatives with the word democracy who will be like, they see the ballot box and vote, no direct democracy. They're going to be worse than the Democrats. No, thank you. So representative really engages them to think, oh, well, I want representation. And so I it's just a word, but it has a lot of impact. Free and equal, which I have a lifetime membership with because when I was making the big bucks doing professional petitioning, I bought a lifetime membership for $1,000 and go to any of their events. They have bands and music. Have you ever seen any of their stuff?
No.
It's a political event to promote grassroots third-party candidates only. No Democrats, Republicans allowed, unfortunately. Sorry, guys. Maybe they allow some in, but there got to be people with, I don't know. But they have to be people with totally alternate ideas. Like, Luke and I were talking about this. It makes sense strategically. If you're in a gerrymandered district, don't run for the other party, even if you are that other party. Just run with the party that's gerrymandered. Because if all the people make it out to the poll, there's no chance your party's going to even win. You're gerrymandered against you. You can't have over 51% vote if the gerrymandering's bad enough, as it is in a lot of places. Yeah. RIPAC has a solution. My buddy Doug, Dr. Doug, this guy did, how you say, sorry, just drawing a blank. He did patent law for years and years, decades, I believe. I'll have to get more details on it. But he knows how to write law, and he wrote a bill. Genius. I've been thinking about this, and he articulated, put it into action. We're going to file it in Arizona. It creates simultaneous proportional representation, and it gets rid of gerrymandering in the same bill. In the past, people thought that had to be two different bills. But what he did is, instead of seeing districts that are all separate, we saw them as layers. So you could live right next to someone who's a different party than you and still have your candidate for your party. No more gerrymandering. And we're going to release that soon once we get the RIPAC site finished, which is, I'm thinking it's going to be about a month. I'm learning how to use WordPress. I have help from a guy in New Hampshire with a Free State project, totally believes in this. You know, and there we go, libertarian kind of conservative wing in politics working on this Free State project, libertarians. They like direct democracy up there. They want to see it happen with charter amendments so that they can bring libertarian ideas to the table in New Hampshire and start eliminating corrupt bureaucracies in government. So Free and Equal promotes the representative party, and they're going to promote these direct democracy candidates. They're going to promote candidates, and they do it through music and entertainment, and they have a big concert basically to engage youth in dialogue about what's going on in the world and how to fix it, and they're promoting candidates to do so. So they're an awesome organization.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, we got to bring the youth in.
Similar to some of the ideas I had a while back, yeah.
Heck yeah, they're doing it, and they're going to expand with the help that we're going to put forward. Citizens in Charge, nonprofit, promotes the need to protect ballot access rights, and they have worked and done lobbying and organized efforts and been successful at protecting ballot initiative rights, which are constantly under attack by representatives all over the country. So Citizens in Charge is an awesome nonprofit. Lowercase, mentioned them earlier, they created the bill to allow for online voting to create law, a legislation to say that this needs to be legal, that could be voted on by a majority vote at the ballot. Now let's get into some exciting things. Now, Liberty Economy, Economic Renaissance. Liberty Economy is my LLC for consulting, and it's about teaching people how to do door-to-door fundraising, how to do merchant organizing and merchant sales, essentially for charitable causes. Why I have right here, it says 100 independent ballot proposition groups nationwide. And I actually need to, it's linked to this one where it says thousands of local charitable causes through Economic Renaissance. Because what that is a business plan. I have a document, about 50 pages of A to Z, what it's going to take. Developers in India I talked to said they think it would be about $60K. This is something you, Nathan, could work on, in fact. But the idea is to create using a digital currency, okay? Using stuff that you guys want to get into, to allow for people to transact money at a local business. And during that transaction, they get to select a charitable cause that they want to see a donation going to. And so it's cause marketing to the max, and it's only for locally owned businesses within a jurisdiction, a state, because that's where our economy is balanced currently. It's not national because it can't be. So each state would have its own, and it could break down to cities and whatnot eventually. And that's another reason why I want to see gold and silver as a foundation for the new digital currency that we're going to create with this, so that charities can use it if they need to pay electric bill. And beyond that, heck, we'll have a charitable cause that will be working to create free alternative energy for people anyway. We'll move on to that later. But Liberty Economy is just barely the consulting organization wing, and we'll work with the ballot initiative groups to help them fundraise, and we'll work with RIPAC, and you can see all these red lines connecting everything. It all intersects, it all connects. Follow My Vote. You guys are directed with the two, Democracy OS and Place a Vote. You're linked with RIPAC because we're going to use that on our website. You're linked with Representative Party. They'll be using it to get candidates chosen amongst themselves. And you'll be using it with Economic Renaissance because ER will serve as a fundraising model for Follow My Vote to flourish and promote itself and do everything you guys do, develop code and all that good stuff. So that's that. That is the current mind map, which I will close out now, and we will have more to talk about in the future. Now that I've filled your head with all that, and I mentioned the Native Americans, coming into the picture, I mean, you must be flooded with ideas. But let me ask you, Nathan, where are you currently in the technology? What are your challenges?
As Adam was mentioning earlier, we're at the very beginning phase of implementation, really. We've got a lot of designs in place, and we're going to start actually writing code before too much longer. Now, initially, we're just doing a stake-weighted voting system, which is that's kind of the low-hanging fruit, right? That's the easy project. And once we've got that, we'll have a nice foundation upon which to build the more interesting and more difficult project, which is identified and unique one person, one voting.
Yeah.
And so that's a little ways out in the future still. But we're about to start actually getting code written, so that's going to be good.
I think past one person, one vote voting. I said one of the things that we're looking into right now is more of a holistic solution for society, really to build a software platform that where a nation's currency can be established and be directly connected to voting rights within said society. There are something like, I don't know how many, I should say, we just started conversations with Liberland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of Liberland.
I have.
But yeah, it's a free society being formed. It was founded on April 13th in Europe. It was basically an unclaimed plot of land in between Croatia and Serbia, right on the Danube River. Veit, the president of Liberland, actually filed all the right paperwork and formally got both Serbia and Croatia to state that they had no rightful claim to it.
Wow, that's awesome! I didn't hear that news because that was one of the people the new cities were that was one of the concerns new cities had, is that they, eventually Serbia or Croatia would say no, you can't have this land.
Well, they initially said that they didn't have any claim to it, and so when he got them both independently to state that they didn't have a claim to it, he claimed it, and now that he's claimed it, they're coming. I think Croatia is coming back and say, "Hey, wait a minute, hold on."
Oh my gosh.
So there are some issues that Veit is working through, but his goal is to create a free society founded on libertarian principles, where government is it's really a voluntary society, where where there are no such thing as taxes, actually, where people donate and contribute to the government in any way that they can or any way that they desire in order to be a part of the community. So it's a whole new way of thinking about society and about government, and we're going to continue conversations with Liberland in hopes to provide them the end-all be-all solution to carry out his vision for his country.
Yeah, that's too cool.
Yeah, and when you brought up the concept of Indian tribes, and the fact that they live on sovereign land,
exactly,
it got very, very interesting because those are other opportunities.
That's right.
That we could look at to experiment, and develop solutions for and see kind of what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
There's this whole other concept of seasteading, if you will. I don't know if Nathan, if you wanted to explain it. I think he's a little bit more up to speed on it, but it's a very interesting project in which, well, I don't know if you want to.
All right. So seasteading is, the high level is building floating cities, basically. And a lot of the ideas behind this is to get away from dumb luck-based citizenship. You happen to be born there, therefore that government claims you. And you didn't really choose that necessarily, and you don't necessarily agree with that. And that seems to be where a lot of our problems are coming from now is, for instance, in the United States, everyone was pretty much in agreement when the country was founded, and now, we've got very different ideas about how to achieve the things that we want. We all want to help the poor. And the question is, how do we do that? And there becomes this enormous warfare that erupts because, ideological warfare, because one group says, oh, well, we have to do it this way, and the other group says, oh, we have to do it that way, and it's one country, so everyone feels like there's got to be the one way. Yeah. And we have to have one global solution for everyone. There's not any experimentation and trying things. And so issues like that come up, and it's in large extent based on geography. It's because we've got one country, and it doesn't want to split and say, okay, well, you guys do your thing over there, and we'll do our thing over here. And seasteading says, okay, well, let's get the geographical barriers out. And when you have people who don't all agree on how things ought to be run, then at that point, you're on a modular floating city. So I can just disconnect my home and float over people who see things my way.
There you go.
And what they're hoping and planning for that to amount to is essentially competitive governments, where governments are competing to get people to float their houses over and join that group.
I love it.
And so it's basically trying to make a free market of governments, and to do this in a non-violent manner that doesn't require revolutions and bloodshed, because my house is next to his house and we have fundamentally different ideas, and so there's just nothing we can do except fight it out. Well, no, with seasteading you don't have that problem. You can actually relocate to have your geography more accurately map your ideology and more effectively pursue different ideas and see what does work and what does not.
Too cool. Yeah, I see Liberland, seasteading is awesome ideas, and I know they're moving forward with it. It's too exciting. The plan with the Native Americans that I have is something that can definitely happen when your software is available, and when these other softwares, when all those pieces of the puzzle start to come together. Because when it comes to environmental issues, of course, it's part of their culture to be like, it's like their spirit. Earth is their mother spirit, you know.
Right.
And it's a very spiritual thing, and that like they're gung ho about environmental issues, of course. With Oak Flat, it's a spiritual issue because the government had it protected as sacred Apache land, but it was double protected as federal national park land. And then this crooked, corrupt NDAA bill that had all these riders in it said, you know, first off it said, well, the veterans won't get their benefits unless the NDAA passes. It was written into the bill there. And then it also said, oh, and we need to be able to sell off federal protected national forest land in order for financial interests of the country to foreign corporations. And they just decided to do this, and one of these places they're going to do this, Oak Flat, man. It's the second biggest aquifer in the nation, right? Covering all these desert states, man. They're going to just drill into that for copper and put arsenic and lead and toxins in the biggest water aquifer. It's so disgusting. It's like a threat on human life and all life. And it's so sad. It's sickening. They're doing like an Occupy stake-in right there, kind of. You know, if you want to follow it and see what's going on. They're just kind of chanting. You know, they have little groups of people. Not everyone's down to camp out there. But they want to physically prevent them from getting on their land and do everything they can by, you know, locking arms or whatever, preventing them from when they start to mine. My goals is that I get RIPAC site up as soon as possible. I get the crowdfunding project set up with the right people to make the success, to get the money to pay for the legal oversight necessary to draft a bill that will block the federal NDAA in mining, okay, on a specific issue. And it's totally applicable through the 10th Amendment. So it's a tough bill to write. It's a tough cookie to crack. But I have a woman, Alexandra May Hunter. She's a 25-year environmental expert, environmental lawyer. She can draft that bill. Also, Doug can help. She needs some pay. Doug's a chiropractor. He could certainly use some pay. We might even get a constitutional lawyer involved. And then we have a little administrative fee for what they call a legislative review of the state of Arizona. And there's some fees involved and obviously a ton of work. And I wish I could work full-time, but I'm a stay-at-home dad. I'm lucky if I can get 4 hours of work in a night on all this stuff. 2 hours, pretty average. Not every day I can work on it. Things come up. My goal is to get the money to pay other experts to do all the things that I know need to get done that I don't have the time to do so we can crank out this initiative. And that will create such a swell of support from the Native American tribes, which I have all the contact information for. And my good friend Delphina, my wife's best friend, she's a tribal member from Canada. She knows all the who's who in the Native tribes in Arizona and mostly the whole U.S. So we can get in with the tribes and share with them this knowledge. It's all going to be compiled on the RIPAC site and on Activism Truth. That's another crowdfunding project I need to get a little funds up to relaunch. Module's broke, but it's an easy fix. And some upgrades are needed, but it's a fix that's available. But, you know, because your project is like step one, square one, at the, you know, for the final solution to get to step Z. And you're just about to get started. I'm wondering, really, can we work to talk with Democracy OS? Can you reach out to them, Nathan? And Adam? And seriously, see what code they've been working on. I mean, because a roundtable discussion between you and definitely with Luke, with Place a Vote. Okay? Because he's already done step one you're trying to get into, he's already gotten started, apparently. So he says. It would be worth the discussion to find out where he is. Because you might be able to take huge chunks of code and put them in your project. And it could be individual races, but it could also be collaboration. You all have the same goals. You had a slight different spin on it. The spin that you guys put on it, I feel, is most fundamental. Because it's about, I mean, having the insurance of voting transparency so well that people would accept it for voting on candidates. Where Place a Vote and Democracy ORS or at least just to get people confident in open source voting for their site. But I mean, in the end of the day, you guys are all kind of working on the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, we'd definitely be open to conversations for sure. You know, when Luke is better, let's set it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Have you reached out directly? I know you've reached out, but have you made contact with people at Democracy OS? Do you have any contacts there?
I made contact. I haven't heard back from them. Luke told me that his opinion on them, because he also reached out to them, is that they're at a period of stagnation right now. They have a big team of people that are supposedly going to help. I need to reach out to all of them individually, I think, and just touch base and say, where are you right now? Can we help you? Can we work together? We have people in the U.S. doing the same thing. There is a wiki page called Meta Government that I found a while back with a bunch of sites. A lot of people in Europe also working on similar stuff. I know that the Pirate Party has also investigated this. I would love to see a collaborative effort between all the groups around the world, really, doing this now to see if we could speed things up. And I also, my main agenda is to convince you guys, talk with you, see if you could also find, an hour, a couple hours a day where I can help you put together a big crowdfunding project, because Nathan, I know you need to get paid. Are you working a job right now?
Well, I've got a couple things I'm working on right now.
Okay.
I work on BitShares primarily.
But you're earning a living to do this, or no? Because I'm volunteer myself,
Something of a living.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure though, if funding were available, you could even outsource some of your work to I have a team in India that can do some stuff, that my stepfather has worked with in the past, have done wonderful work for him, and they can do they know their stuff, I would like to see that our dreams become realized sooner, and I think that crowdfunding is a solution, because I feel that this platform of getting YouTube videos out, getting blogs written about our goals, and obviously continuing to work on them directly, is a way to get all the people across the country and the world interested to donate $5, $10, $20, $1,000, to the point where we can get the funds together, whether to do it ourselves and pay ourselves to do it more, or to outsource the work to other people. Like in my case, I couldn't even pay myself enough if I wanted, because I just simply don't have my time. My wife pulls the purse strings. Our son's the number one priority. But, I can do a couple 4 hours of work. If I could get paid to do it, wow, that'd be awesome, because it'd be more money for our family. Plus, would it speed things up? No, I'm not even I want to just see it happen. I'm not even as interested in pay. When my son's older, I'd like to get paid full time so I could do it as a job, though, So I could do it as a job to just promote these concepts. Because if people can't take it as full-time work, it's just, I don't want to wait till another generation or two for this to happen. Our world is really in danger right now, from artificial intelligence taking over with mad scientists, the elites are plotting, to nuclear devastation, to genetic engineering, to geoengineering, which is something Alexandra works on. She just went to a big conference in Prague, debating with the World Bank, Royal Society, and big leaders in environmental movements about why they should stop geoengineering right away. And some of the people actually agreed with her, but I don't think they're that powerful. She's going to write the first bill for a statewide ballot initiative to end geoengineering that we're going to do in Arizona. That will be model legislation for every other state, every city. There's been some attempts in the past, but that's a big issue. They call them chemtrails. It's totally disclosed. A lot of the stuff is messed up. Just in short, anyone that thinks it's conspiracy theory, it is a fact that they're still using lead in airline fuel. And you can't have lead building up in our bodies and building it up in the ecosystem everywhere on the planet. Even if you want to debate that, they're not putting aluminum, barium, and all these chemicals they're finding in these independent tests. The government is not disclosing it, and they need disclosure. They just need to end it. There needs to be a moratorium on it. So our legislation is going to call for that. But so we have serious issues facing us, and inflation's, massive hyperinflation is on the brim of happening any day. China wants to drop our currency. Russia, go back to a gold standard. So big issues. That's why it is imperative that people support your work. And support what I'm doing, support all the other people that I've promoted on that little on that list there, on that mind map. Okay,
Yeah.
So I'm working on creating all the content for the site so we can get started with step B. And let me ask you, can you see yourself spending an hour a night, to crowdfund for mutual goals? We'll put together a mini project for like $1 million with enough people. I think it's definitely doable.
Yeah, I'd be happy to work with you on that.
Okay. Yeah, so we got to really start to think about what the costs would be. We're going to put a little buffer, and we're going to articulate that to people first, too. Because I feel, and I haven't finished the whole crowdfunding source, but doesn't it just make sense that if we show people these are all the actual core costs that are necessary to cover it, they're more willing to give? instead of just saying we need $1 million to do this.
Oh, no. Yeah, you got to be very specific in terms of exactly what the money's going towards.
Yeah. So that's what we'll work on, and if you haven't already started working on that in more detail, I suggest you prioritize that a little bit, because the sooner we get that done, the sooner we can crowdfund, the sooner we can get money in, the sooner we can get the job done.
Yeah. So that's definitely something we're interested in, and we'd be happy to work with you on that. We're kind of, it's a perfect timing really, because we're kind of in the process of finalizing kind of our designs and writing code, and that's we're close to getting to a point where we can really put a price tag on this thing.
Cool.
And that's what we need to, where we need to be in order to start trying to raise for it, right?
Totally. So. Just curious, did you see the email I sent you with some of the suggestions I sent out to Democracy OS of what I'd like to see in their software?
Yes, I actually shared that with Nathan as well.
Cool.
We both took a look at it.
What do you think?
I think there are a lot of great ideas. I think that it's definitely something that I think is going to, your ideas. I mean, those things are going to need to be part of any sort of solution where people are coming together and collaborating to write and vote on legislation. I think there were a lot of well thought out ideas. I mean, you've even kind of hit on a lot of them in this conversation tonight.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I had any questions on any of that stuff, or I don't know if you did.
Well, I'm going to write blogs and elaborate on it more on the site, on the RIPAC site, and Activism Truth eventually. So it's coming around to that.
Yeah. Definitely stuff that I see as a really good fit for Democracy OS, and kind of that's the path they're on, right? That's what they're working on, is that type of stuff. And, that's where, I envisioned things needing to go for us as well.
Awesome. That's what I wanted to hear. That's great. Because we'll make it happen. And I want to see it happen like in a year, like sooner than that. I mean, ideally it'd be like in a month or two, but all this stuff take time, obviously. Wow, you guys are doing amazing work. You have such a great vision. I love your website.
So I had to grab a charger here. Yeah, thank you very much. And we've actually spent a lot of time. We use WordPress to build it, believe it or not.
Totally, I'm using WordPress right now. I'm learning how to build it. Maybe I could. My guy in New Hampshire seems pretty proficient at it. But if I have some ideas, maybe one of you. I imagine, Nathan, you're the pro on the WordPress stuff because you do all this coding too.
No, WordPress is not my area.
Well, you have another person that does that, right?
I have me and my marketing manager, Will Long.
Okay, cool.
Are the ones that are mainly, we've designed the site as it is today.
Yeah.
And I do have several people continuously cranking out content for us. You can see our blog is pretty up to date. I mean, we're covering all types of things going on and around the world, relevant to politics and to voting and to technology in the industry.
Yeah, I need to read some more of your blogs. I just read the core part of the site. I didn't really get into the blogs.
Yeah.
But I plan to.
Yeah, we're totally open to constructive criticism as well. If you think there's anything on the site, could
absolutely
done better, or if there's anything you think is missing, One of the things is the Knowledge Center is really kind of a living, breathing thing that we're constantly expanding and adding things to.
I like that.
So if you think there's something we're missing inside that Knowledge Center that would be helpful to have there, let us know. I mean, I would love to actually start to, flesh out some content relevant to the things that you're doing, and to help educate people on what it really actually requires to get something. What's the process to get an initiative on the ballot?
Yeah, likewise.
that kind of stuff, I think, would be very insightful for people to know.
Yeah, likewise. I think that us all mutually blogging about all those other groups on the mind map will be great eventually to get around to. So I'll keep you informed on that. Likewise, you guys can do the same. Do you have a YouTube channel set up for following?
Yeah, you check it out. Yeah, we got some good videos out there. You should.
I can't wait to see them.
Take a look. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll be followmyvote.com, and you guys will hear from me soon. Anyways.
Let's stay in touch, man. Let's get going on this the crowdfunding campaign. I like it, and like I said, I'd love to work with you on it. So
definitely.
All right.
You guys, take it easy. Keep your head high. Keep your vision focused on the future. You got to shoot for the moon, even if you end up with the stars. We'll make dreams happen in this lifetime. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right.